Hi there. I'm on my way, I'm making it. I've got to make it show, yeah. So much larger than life.
Hey folks, welcome back to Star Wars, Delusions of Granular. I'm your host Ron, and this is a podcast about Star Wars. Every week we pick a Star Wars topic, or a related Star Wars topic, and we get granular with it. Hence the title of the show. Folks, if you haven't, if you're just tuning in, you'll know that, the show is sometimes me, sometimes my co-host JP, sometimes it's our resident reviewer Steve, and we like to vary it up a little bit, and tonight it's just me, folks, and I hope you enjoy. What's going on in the world of Star Wars this week? Well, I don't know how to even bring this up without, how would I know about such things? Let's just say I travel the byways of the internet, and I just kind of know about these things. But Star Wars, The Force Awakens, the Blu-ray, it's not out yet, folks. But it leaked onto the internet. If you are inclined to be break a few laws, you can actually find a Blu-ray copy of the movie in its entirety on the internet. Not going to tell you where or how. I do not endorse these things, but it's out there, folks. I have a good source that tells me that it's there if you want it. So, folks, don't download this movie. Go out and buy it. It'll be out very soon. April 5th, I believe, is coming out on Blu-ray. It'll be out on digital download, I believe, on iTunes on April 1st. So that's this week, folks. We'll see it in its. We'll see. Here's the reason why you should buy this movie, folks. You should buy it because there's going to be deleted scenes on the official, when you buy it for official legal ways and means. So look forward to that. I've seen bits and pieces of what these deleted scenes are going to be, but I haven't really focused too much on it yet. I look forward to probably sitting down with the legal version of the movie when it comes out and watching all of the deleted scenes. I believe there's even a full-length documentary in the making of the movie, so plenty of stuff to talk about in the future. Plenty of stuff. Also this week, season 2 of Rebels is ending. We're getting the last episode, and that's exciting because, well, it's pretty much been confirmed that our old friend Darth Maul is going to be in it. I saw a trailer, a little snippet of the last episode, and sure enough, it does look like Darth Maul makes an appearance, meets with Ezra, and he might not be the bad guy that we thought he was. I don't know. I need to catch up with the show. I'm doing my best to catch up with it. Hopefully in the next week or so, I will be all caught up and ready to talk about what's sure to be a pretty exciting final episode. If it's anything like the first season, I expect it to redeem the show a bit. I think the show is without a doubt has some bumps along the way, but yeah. I don't want to give my full thoughts on the season until it's over, but it's the stuff that I've caught recently I've enjoyed. So there you have it, folks. Also, JP and I gosh, it's like I'm doing a little bit of housekeeping this week. But yeah, JP and I have a bunch of episodes planned. We're hoping to get together soon, so look forward to granular packed episodes of JP and I talking about stuff that's, well, more tangentially related to Star Wars than just the straight Star Wars talk that we sometimes give you. Also, Steve will be giving you some reviews of some EU novels, some Legends novels that he's been reading up on, and gosh, in a little over a month away, I believe we have the new novel Bloodline. So we'll have that to talk about soon as well. I'm sure Steve, as well as myself, will be blowing through that to see who can record an episode with our thoughts. Who can beat the other one to the punch there. All right, folks. Well, what am I talking about tonight? Well, something that someone that has been a part of the Star Wars universe right from the start. Well, a man who needs no introduction at all, but let's give him his due. Kenny Baker. Kenny Baker, the man, the myth, the legend, R2-D2 himself. That's right, folks. I'm going to dive into Kenny Baker's life, because honestly, didn't know much about him. The American that I am, didn't really know much about this English actor, but he's had quite a career outside of the Star Wars universe. In fact, I picked up a book written by Ken Mills. It's called From Tiny Acorns, The Kenny Baker Story. And this was published in like around 2009, 2010. And it's basically, it tells the story of Kenny Baker. Now, Kenny Baker is an actor that obviously has not been actually seen in the Star Wars movies because he's always been inside R2-D2 and an Ewok. Actually, he was in an Ewok in Return of the Jedi as well. But if you want to see the man, I recommend highly checking out the movie Time Bandits. Time Bandits is a movie that he was in. You see his face in that. And that is a movie that came out in 1981 by Terry Gilliam. Definitely check that out if you want to see Kenny Baker. Most of you will probably know Kenny Baker just because his face is pretty recognizable. He's been in the convention circuit for quite a while, signing autographs. So, a man of the people, man who's gotten around, and quite a life that he's led. Now, Kenny Baker obviously is a dwarf, I believe, a little person, and he was born and raised in England. And interesting thing about him is his parents were actually not little people. They were normal size people. They had him, and unfortunately, they weren't very happy with Kenny being the little person that he was born as. It's kind of starts out a little bit of a sad story. His parents kind of abandoned him. His mother leaves and goes off to America. His father just kind of doesn't really want to have much to do to him. So throughout Kenny's childhood, he's been kind of bounced around foster homes, other relatives. He lived with his uncle and his grandfather for a while, but one thing that I can tell you about Kenny Baker's story is he does not let things get him down. In fact, he never really felt that he had any kind of hardships in his life, especially at this young age. He just assumed that that's kind of how things were, and he didn't let it get him down. He's always just kind of been a very jovial fella. So Kenny got his start in the show business when a woman came up to him and actually said, "Hey, she approached him on the street and said, "Hey, you want to join the show? Looking for looking for dwarves and midgets." This was 1951, so midgets, I guess, were a term that little people were referred to. Anyway, yeah, she basically got him at a very young age to join a theatrical troupe. And honestly, he never looked back from there. He joined a lot of different acting troupes, theatrical troupes throughout his career, and that was really kind of how he made his living. Working up this circuit, not being afraid to kind of exploit his stature. He never really was one to, gosh, I'd hate to use this pun here, but he never one to get up on his high horse, so to speak, and actually be offended by some of the parts he had. He was always kind of, glad for the work. So taking roles as various little people or puppets or animals, that's, he just kind of took it all in stride, and he's like, hey, work is work. In fact, he was a part of many a circus from time to time. He also learned how to ice skate, so he didn't let things slow him down. He was in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, was a part of that for quite a long time. Theater groups kind of traveled the world, kind of being a part of that theater troupe, performing not only just Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs on ice. So, yeah, he kind of became a well-known thing throughout his early work. But then he hooked up with another little person, entertainer by the name of Jack Purvis. Now, Jack Purvis is also a little person, also a part of the Star Wars universe, and I will get to that in a second. But basically, throughout most of Kenny Baker's life, Jack and him were a duo, a comedy duo, a comedy act called the Minitones. They performed on stage throughout all of London, England, what have you. Kind of became a well-known thing, and they were probably more well-known during this time prior to Star Wars coming out as the Minitones act than they were as being in Star Wars. Of course, that all changed in 1976 when George Lucas hired Kenny to be a part of Star Wars. He basically got the role of R2-D2 because, well, he fit the part, folks. He fit inside the little can that is R2-D2. Kenny Baker stands 3 feet 8 inches tall, and he apparently was just the right size to fit in that little droid. But of course, Kenny is a duo, so was there a part in this movie for Jack Purvis? How is he going to get hired and not upset his partner? So Kenny actually kind of talked his way into getting his partner into the movie as well. Jack Purvis is actually billed in the credits of Star Wars, pretty high up, in fact. I always remember seeing his name, and I was just like, "Wow, who is he?" And I don't know who that actor is. Well, Jack Purvis is the head Jawa in the first film. Not a big role, but he was a part of the Minitones act, and Kenny was a part of it, and they were a duo. So, folks, you hire one, you hire both of them. So, yeah, it wasn't a big role for Mr. Purvis, but they kind of flip sides a little bit when Terry Gilliam came came around to cast for Time Bandits because Jack Purvis got the bigger role in there. Kenny did not. He got the smaller role, but Time Bandits is actually probably the part that Kenny feels most connected with, mostly because his face is in the movie. Time Bandits basically stars a group of little people that kind of travel through time on crazy mishaps. So that's kind of it. Obviously, both Purvis and Warwick were in other movies. They were in Willow together. They were in Flash Gordon, Amadeus, Labyrinth, which JP and I are planning on talking about soon. Like I said, Kenny was also in Return of the Jedi as an Ewok, Paplu. He was supposed to play Warwick, but fell ill, and the role ended up going to 13-year-old Warwick Davis, who we've talked about in the past. That's right, folks. Here on Delusions of Granular, we give a shout-out to all the little people. You can go back to an earlier episode where we did a tribute to Mr. Warwick Davis and his great career. Anyway, Kenny's career is a little bit different. Like I said, he did Star Wars, but he continued to kind of be this this part of this comedy act throughout the years, until of course Jack Purvis kind of fell ill. In fact, got into an accident and ended up getting paralyzed. Kind of a sad thing. This was already into the 1990s when this happened, but it really took a toll on Kenny because in the same year, his wife, who he had been married to for many years, she was prone to epileptic seizures, and she fell ill as well and died while Kenny was out of town. So, the 1990s were not a good period for Kenny. He was kind of lost two very close people in his life. But like I said, he was always one to kind of carry on and not let life get him down. He stayed away from England for quite a while, living in Spain for a while, basically kind of avoiding the going back and all those reliving all those memories of the time that he spent with his wife and in England. It's just too painful for him to go back. So, he spent a lot of time on the road, and also kind of honed in on his solo act for a while as well. Carrying on, the show must go on. Kenny was a big part of that. No matter what would happen in his life, the show would always have to go on. So, let's talk about his relationship with some of the actual Star Wars actors, because there's been rumors, there's been innuendos about Kenny's relationship to a certain actor, and kind of wanted to set the record straight on some of this. Like I said, Kenny started in Star Wars, became really good friends with David Prowse, who played Vader. At least the man in the mask, not so much the voice of Vader, but Dave Prowse, the bodybuilder / actor. Him and Kenny got along really well, as well as Sir Alec Guinness. Sir Alec Guinness took a liking to Kenny as well. Some of the other big names of the movies: Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill. Kenny didn't really have too much interactions with them, but he said they were very friendly and very nice to him. Harrison Ford at the time, he felt was a quiet sort, kind of kept to himself, not unfriendly, but kind of kept to himself. But of course, I'm dodging the big one, Anthony Daniels. Anthony Daniels now, I would say a few months ago, it came out that rumors were that Kenny and Anthony Daniels did not get along, that they despised each other, that they were, would just talk poorly about each other, and, as Kenny put it so eloquently in his book, it's not that he didn't get along with Anthony Daniels, but he wasn't the only actor that didn't get along with Anthony Daniels. Apparently, Mr. Daniels, a little bit of a hard guy to get along with. No, nothing. I don't mean to disparage Anthony Daniels. This just is coming from Kenny Baker's mouth himself. But yeah, he says apparently a little bit difficult, but very much a professional actor. Kenny says that the role of C-3PO very much suited Anthony Daniels' personality. So there you have it, folks. No big feud, no big rift. It's just Anthony Daniels a little bit hard to get along with. But as it turns out, the people that he did get along with, such as Dave Prowse, they helped him later on in life, because after Jack Purvis fell ill and could no longer perform with Kenny, Kenny was feeling a little bit out of sorts. He really didn't know how to carry on as a solo act. He had some difficulties booking some prestigious shows that he had come known to be a part of in the past. He ended up playing some retirement homes that didn't go so well for him. But Dave Prowse calls him up one day and says, "Hey Kenny, why don't you come over to the States? And I got this little gig you might be interested in. The men behind the masks." And this was basically the early days of kind of comic book conventions where they would have these actors come in and sign autographs. And Kenny, being kind of the man of the people that he is, loved it and became a pretty lucrative deal for him. He got to travel all over the world, going to convention to convention, got to hang out with his buddies from the Star Wars films, the men behind the masks, and got to kind of enjoy his life. He also reconnected with a love of his, or a infatuation, I guess I should say, a woman that was very much infatuated with Kenny at a young age. She kind of was available when Kenny needed someone again in his life after his wife had passed away. So, yeah, he ended up kind of being her partner as they kind of toured the world. She got to kind of be with the man that she always loved. So, kind of a sweet little thing. Other than that, I'm happy to say that Kenny is 81 years old, and as of the publishing of his book, it didn't seem like he had any kind of severe health problems. He was having problems with sleeping. He would fall asleep while signing autographs. Midday, he just kind of was always having problems. Finally got it checked out, and apparently it was the serious disease, folks, sleep apnea. Now, sleep apnea is basically a sleeping disorder where you're not getting enough oxygen, and you tend to snore. So you're basically not sleeping very well during the night. So this is why Kenny would kind of fall asleep in the middle of the day, possibly even during signing autographs. Anyway, I wanted to kind of dispel one of the other rumors, a rumor that was perpetrated by JP himself, my co-host. He early on our show, JP was trying to verify the rumor that Kenny's a pothead, that he would kind of choke it up in R2-D2, and there'd be smoke coming out of it. I am here to tell you folks that is not true. That Kenny is actually not a smoker himself. He can't smoke because of his stature, his way in life. That would be a detriment to his well-being. He's been known to have a drink or two, even during breaks on set. So, Kenny more so a drinker than a pot smoker, folks. Yes, JP, if you're listening, you're wrong. Kenny is not a pothead. Other couple of quick interesting things I want to point out before I leave. Kenny's, because of his affliction in life, and again, I don't mean to call it an affliction. It's something that Kenny, it's never stopped him, as well as it's never stopped Warwick Davis, as well as it's never stopped many little people out there. But because of how he was born, Kenny lost his teeth, all of his teeth, at a very early age. Did not know that, but yeah, Kenny has had false teeth for quite a long time. Also, he has a love of cars, Rolls Royces in particular. Obviously, they're outfitted so that he can drive them, but he's been known to drive a Rolls Royce now and then, to own a few, even own some of them that are too large and too powerful for the little man to control. There's, on at least one occasion, he's not totaled a Rolls Royce, but definitely has basically lost control of the car and possibly driven into a tree. Nothing serious. No one was killed or hurt, but it kind of was a wake up call that maybe some of these cars are a little bit too hard for the big man to handle. So there you have it, folks. That is the story of Kenny Baker. The man who, he's gone through some hardships, but he's a never one to let it get him down. He has two offspring, two sons. They are actually not little people. So he will be remembered by his two sons. But of course, he's still very much alive. So there you have it, folks. That is the story of Kenny Baker. I hope I shed some light on this. We like to give you something that you may not know about these actors. Obviously, especially the actors behind the masks. But I know I learned something by reading up on Kenny, and he seems to have lived a relatively good life. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Delusions of Granular. As always, you can find all of our past episodes at delusionsofgranular.com, as well as links to our social media. You can give us a call at 651-337-9364. That's 651-33-SWDOG. Or email us at swdog77@gmail.com. Always, you can subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher. More importantly, if you know someone who likes Star Wars, who likes listening to podcasts, tell them to give us a shot. They might like it, like what we have to say, or at least find us somewhat entertaining. All right, folks, until next time, I am Ron. Please, as always, stay granular.